Hey everyone, SG Dad here. Today I'm going to do the video in a slightly different format. I'm going outdoor, walking around the park while talking. I enjoy going for walks like this, sometimes in neighborhood park, sometimes in some nature park. Right, it helps clear my mind and gives me time to reflect and think about things. So I thought I would do some sharing on the reasons why I chose to quit my 9 to 5 full-time job at the age of 40. Not sure whether you are familiar with MBTI. My personality type is INTJ. So I usually like to present my thoughts or even my videos. I like to do it in a more structured way. So although this seems to be very free flow and ad hoc, some people are good in that, but for me I have to think through what are the things I want to share, right? So anyway, I'm going to share 5 reasons, 5 main points of why I chose to quit. Okay, first reason is about time. And yes, time is really limited and precious. I believe everyone agrees with me, right? So this, especially when we start to age, when we are in our 20s, we may not feel that, we thought that we still have a super long runway, right? But now that I'm in my 40s, I realize that, hey, we are, at the midpoint of our lives. And I think time is the only one finite resource that we can never get back compared to wealth, right? There are many ways to grow a wealth, but there's only one way to spend your time. So I felt that working full-time in a 9 to 5 job, it also means that my time, it just makes me feel that my time is being controlled by others. No doubt now, of course, when we are in our 40s, we may be in the mid-management kind of position, or maybe even senior management kind of position, but still, ultimately, your time is still being controlled. There will be some direction from the top. There will be some initiatives from the top that will decide what you should do and how you should spend your time. Maybe not in a very hour by hour basis, but still your mind will be always occupied by work, right? So those 8 hours, assuming you are spending 8 hours in the office or maybe even working from home, it don't really belong to you, right? So this thought really scared me, and like, why am I not able to control the most precious commodity, so to speak, right? Yeah, so it's also not just about those 8 hours. Also think about the additional time we spent getting ready, commuting, and recovering after work, right? So think about how often you have been too tired to do anything meaningful after your job, right? After we end work, sometimes your mind may still be with the work, right? If not, you may be mentally drained after a long day. So things like personal growth, your hobbies, or even spending quality time with your loved ones will get kind of pushed aside or get compromised whenever we feel mentally or physically drained. So if we add up everything, it's not just 8 hours a day, right? It easily occupy maybe 10 to 12 hours a day, combined with the time we spend sleeping, commuting, and all the daily chores that we need to do. You may be left with that 1-2 hours. And what do we do with that, right? So if you have 1 to 2 hours of personal time, most probably you will just want to relax. We will just want to seek some short-term pleasure, like start scrolling through the social media, watching some Netflix or YouTube, right? So just to wind down. So it won't be productive. Even if we have this, we are able to squeeze out these 1-2 hours per day. It's hard to be productive, I don't think it's our fault, right? It's just that it requires so much more in order to focus for that 1-2 hours with a full-time job. So for someone like me with a family and kids, I really think that is not enough. So I realized that I wasn't okay with that anymore. So I believe once I quit, I will be able to reclaim my time for what really matters to me. So of course I will still be spending time. It's not like suddenly I free up 10 to 12 hours a day. I will still be working, as in trying to build my own business, right? That of course takes time, right? But the difference is you will feel that you are in control of it, right? I believe you will feel that the time belongs to you. How do you want to manage it, right? You can choose. I no longer need to sit in those meaningless meetings that will drain my energy, right? How many of us has been there? Sitting in a very large group meetings, not sure why you are there, just to show up, right? And trying to multitask just to get through it. So I find those are really a huge waste of time, and we can't really avoid that when we are having a full-time job. And as mentioned, as an INTJ, as an introvert, this type of meetings or meeting a lot of people, and sometimes not for the work itself, is a major drain for me, and I'm very done with spending my time that way. And if you're a manager, I believe you chaired a meeting before. So when I was chairing a meeting, I always try to get a minimum number of people involved and try to end as early as possible. If people start to digress, I will try to pull them back. And I thought this is just common sense, right? But after that, I realized common sense somehow is not so common in the corporate world after all. So anyway, it sounds like ranting, but yeah, that's my first reason. It's about time. Let's go on to the second reason, and that is relationship. So relationship, I think it actually flows from the first reason, time. So without ample time, it's quite hard to build strong relationship or meaningful time with the people who matter, right? So for example, for me, I'm a relatively new father, right? My eldest son is 6 years old, and yeah, this 6 years old passed by very fast, and I find that we have very limited time with our kids during these important years. So as they grow older and enter their teenage year, I think the chances of spending quality time with them will decrease significantly. And again, I thought that's quite a scary thought, right? So a full-time job really limits the amount of quality time we can have with our families, and we are left with the evening, the weekends, and I feel that if I quit my full-time job, my time will be much more flexible, right? So for example, I can after school I can join them to do activities. I could spend more time with my kids, and also not fully immerse myself in those moments. So this type of flexibility, I think it will allow me to build deep and meaningful relationship. I have to say that I think my wife and I are already doing the best we can and doing quite well in this area, even with our full-time jobs, right? We don't have a helper, and because I don't know, we just don't believe in relying on one. Okay, which may sound a bit contradictory, because a helper can help us to free up some time, right, by doing the household chores, the cooking and stuff like that. But on the other hand, I don't know, I feel that with a helper we may start to even push our kids to them, Okay, I'm not sure whether I will do that because I don't even have one to experience that. But I do see my friends, my peers around me, or they outsource the chores, and sadly also outsource their the times that they need to spend with kids to the helper as well, right? Just because they also have to work, right? So in the end, the kids spend most of the time with the helper rather than the parents. So not trying to discredit them for sure, because yeah, but I just find that we rather really spend the time with our kids as parents ourselves, right? Then of course there's also grandparents, right? Maybe slightly better, but still, yeah, it's outsourcing lah. So for us, we take pride in not outsourcing too much, right? When it comes to raising our kids. Yeah. So one example I can share is when we pick up our kids from the childcare, it's very common to see kids being picked up by their helpers or grandparents, and they are the one bringing the kids to the playground, spending that 30 minutes to 1 hour with them. I thought that if it's the parents, if it's us spending with them, the kind of time with them, it will be much more meaningful, right? So it's these little moments, right? Maybe to a working adult may think that these are a waste of time, right? Like these 30 minutes, 1 hour, I can get a lot of things done at work, and my hourly value in my career, in my work, is much more than the amount I pay the helper, right? If you want to calculate in these using financial metrics, I think it's definitely worth it in that sense. But if you think about companionship and building relationship, then I think it's not worth it. Yeah. So that's my take on the second reason. Okay, now let's talk about the third reason, health. So if you are in your 40s, I believe you will agree with me that our body, our health are no longer like how we were in 20s or 30s. And for guys like me who've been through national service, okay, you can see a lot of differences, right? When compared to when we are young and fit adult. Sometimes I will still go for a 2.4 km run just to measure the timing so that I have something to compare with. Then you will feel a little bit upset that the timing is so different from when we were young, right? So anyway, health really becomes a bigger concern in your 40s, right? So thankfully, and touch wood, I haven't experienced any major health scares so far. However, I do have friends and who have started having health issues, and I take that as a lesson learned, right? I mean, something that happened to people around you, better take that as a warning, all right, to yourself. So even though I haven't had a scare, I do go for annual checkups. Yeah, I notice some metrics are trending downwards or upwards in that sense, like cholesterol level, visceral fat, such. I believe these are indicators that we really need to pay more attention to our health. If we continue with a full-time job, it's not that we can't take care of our health, but it's definitely harder, right? There's less time. For example, there's less time for home-cooked food, right? My wife did try her best to cook on most days, right? But to be honest, it's really tough to juggle after work quickly, get some ingredients, and cook up a meal for the whole family. So there are days we will, of course, rely on takeaway foods, all right, or delivery, right? So, and also the other aspect will be on the time that you can spend on exercising, right? I do try to squeeze it in whenever possible, like when working from home, we can try to fit in a quick workout, a quick a jog, to a nearby park during lunchtime or in the evening. But without a full-time job, I think we can fit in an exercise schedule easily, right? We can focus more on our health, cooking more meals at home, maintaining a more active lifestyle, clocking more steps, etc. So at the end of the day, I really don't want to exchange my time for money at the expense of my health, right? And the money may be used to spend to get back my health, which I think this is not a very good equation. It's not logical at all. So I'd rather exchange time for better health, right? So that is my third reason. For the fourth reason, it is on pursuing a passion. I think many of us, when we were young, we do have some form of hobbies, passions, and as we grow older, our life becomes boring, more and more boring, right? Especially when you have full-time jobs and when you are doing well in your career, it demands more and more of your time and energy, right? So we don't have much time to explore our personal passions. So I'm quite sure that if you ask around, all right, your friends or colleagues who are in their 40s, what are their passions, most of them will need a bit of time to think, right? Oh yeah, maybe I like to do this and that, but it's not so instant, like, or it's not something that they pursue, in a regular basis, right? So to be honest, it's really hard to develop passions when you don't have the time, or to carry on with the passions you used to have, right? So once again, it all goes back to time, right? Many people simply don't know what they're passionate about because they're too busy working. For myself, my passions include sports, playing badminton, soccer. But this kind of sports, you need people to play with. You can't do it alone. So yeah, we can join an active community for these sports, but it's quite hard to balance that, right, with family commitments as well. So those that do not require finding other people to play with includes like hiking. I do enjoy hiking or going for a walk like this, right? And I really like to try out camping. But these type of activities again are quite hard to pursue in Singapore. Yes, in Singapore we can hike here in our nature reserves, and they are very nice trail. That's for sure. It's still considered a very small country which without much options, right? So whenever we travel, especially to Japan, right, we will definitely go for a hike over there. And it's much more enjoyable with the weather, right? And camping is also something that is very popular in Japan, which I really hope that I can pursue in that passion when I relocate over there. So yeah, quitting a full-time job maybe won't fulfill all this passion. So yeah, so that's why it's not just about quitting, it's also about relocating, changing an environment to a place with an environment that has such a community and such opportunities to explore these types of activities. So, and I think passions are really important because they are the things that bring you or bring us joy and fulfillment to our lives, right? It's not about just trying to fulfill our responsibility and commitment every day, right? We have to do things outside of those. So without them, life, I feel is really quite meaningless. So having the time and mental space to pursue passions is also one key reason why I want to quit. Okay, now let's talk about the last reason. Okay, to sum up, before I talk about the last reason, for the first four reasons, I believe most of you, as viewers, you would more or less agree with them, right? It applies to everyone. right? But the fifth reason, it kind of depends on individual circumstances, right? And the reason is financial readiness, right? So personally, or my wife and I, we feel that we are more or less financially ready to quit our full-time job. After doing our calculations, after we have done our calculation, I think it's not as risky as what people often believe, or what most people will find. Because I think most of us, we are told that, you need a job, right, in order to have an income, to pay for your house, to raise your kids. And those are true, those words are true. But after you build a certain amount of net worth, and if you also have different sources of income, including passive income, then you can really explore getting incomes outside of full-time job. So I think the main reason why many people, although they agree with the first four reasons, they don't dare to take this step is because of financial reason. Because once you stop working full-time, you lose the steady income that pays for our expenses or debt. I think that is the biggest hurdle. So for us, it's a mental hurdle we need to overcome as well, right? I'll be lying to you if I say that we are so sure that we have enough money to spend and things like that. It's not that. We really did our calculations, and we think that we may be a little, we may take a little hit, definitely in the net worth, in our monthly income, right? But at the same time, there are opportunities. I believe it will open doors to other things that can bring in money as well, right? So I hope that if you do not have a huge debt, right? Let's say you have paid up your home loan, you have sufficient savings and investment, you may really want to consider slowing down in your career, right? So I think many of us in our 40s or 50s, we find that it seems like a huge loss, because you have been building up your career for the past 10, 20, 30 years, right? And suddenly, if you just want to throw it away, and go back to zero, definitely it will take you will need time to adjust to that. So that's why a lot of people, even if they reach their 60s, 63, right, the retirement age, they will still want to continue working, right? Because their life revolves around work for the longest period of time, right? It becomes part of them. It may not be a bad thing, right? But for me, I definitely do not want it to be part of my life, or maybe majority of my life, right? Yeah, so because I think that outside work, there are a lot of things that we can do. But when you're in your 60s, you may realize, hey, there's nothing much you can do anymore. You may not have the energy anymore. You may lose the motivation to go and find new hobbies or passion anymore. Maybe partly also because of your health, right? So I think stopping full-time work at an earlier age, like 40, mid-40, or the latest 50, is about time. It's the right time, right? So again, if financial reason, the income is the only reason holding you back, you may really need to start maybe building more income sources, right? Doing freelancing, investment, or something as simple as giving tuition and fit that into a schedule. So these are passive or active form of income, but your time will be much more flexible. So in conclusion, right, quitting may slow down or even reverse the growth of your net worth, and you may experience drawdown. But with careful planning, and if you don't have a large debt, I think it's definitely feasible. So let's say you just bought a 2.5 million condo. It may be a bit trickier because you need to service the debt, right? But if you don't have such obligations, if your CPF that you accumulated can cover your loans for a good 5 to 10 years, right? So it's worth looking at your numbers. And these numbers are really depends on individual. There is no fixed number. It's not like a 1.5 million you will be able to quit immediately, or 2 millions or 1 million. The number really depends on you. What's your expenses, what's your commitment and obligations, right? So yeah, so these are the 5 reasons I decided to quit my full-time job, not just for myself, together with my wife. Some of you, as a couple of family, maybe one person can quit first. That's exactly what Matthew did in an interview that I reacted to recently. You can check out the video over here. Like him, he continued working while his wife quit to take care of the kids. So I think that's a very positive kind of arrangement as well. And it works for their family, and I believe it may also work for yours. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this type of sharing. This style of sharing is a long video, right? So if you did, please comment below, like and share and subscribe, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.